And a warm welcome to Anne Darcy, who has joined us in studio in the last few minutes. Anne, you're summering well, I hope.
Oh, it's so nice. Actually, we're going into autumn. Can you believe?
I know. Well, not officially. Well, not officially, but...
We don't think of it because of the school holidays.
Yeah, and we didn't really have much of a summer. Not down this neck of the woods anyway. It's been disappointing, but I'm holding out for next week that it might be nice. And you're going to talk a bit about chronic pain and foods that can help out with it, and you've brought some stuff into studio with us. Chronic pain seems to be a huge problem for many people.
Chronic pain, and it can be joint pain, muscle pain, it can be head pain, it's your neck is restricted, and some people say, it's work injury and it's overuse injury. And then for other people, it's this chronic inflammatory process. And, when you hear me talk about all diseases begin in the gut, and while I know that you can injure yourself and now you have chronic pain left over from an injury, what is causing a person to have this chronic inflammatory response, where they're swollen and maybe, as they move a joint, it's everywhere. It's as much their wrists as it is their knees, as much as their ankles. They're just seized up. So when you see somebody seized with inflammation, you really want to reduce that inflammation everywhere. So you have to start working on it at home, because when people go and take chronic pain medications, the opiates have side effects. You can become addicted, you can become constipated. You take a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory and you damage the stomach lining. So now you have digestive issues that are coming from those painkillers. So if you can take control of it in another way and look for some natural cures that you'd have at home in your own cupboard, and when you do your shopping, you shop in an anti-inflammatory way and you cook for inflammation and you cook to reduce inflammation. So there are certain foods that can trigger inflammation, for example, so a high sugar diet. So if you're on a very high carbohydrate diet, you're on, cereals and sugar, and then you're on bread and tart and all this stuff,
and all
the things that you think, oh my God, it's so nice, I really, really love all those foods. But the more sugar you have, the more inflammation you can trigger, because you have to be able to digest that food, and you can trigger, say, overgrowths of candida, overgrowth of a bad gut bacteria. So if you have an inflamed stomach, you can then produce inflammation chemicals that can produce inflammation in joints. So that's one thing.
So it all goes back to what you eat.
So much of it. And I know when I come in talking about nutrition, I can talk about exercise and sleep. Sleep is important because we need to repair ourselves at night. Vitamin D that we get from the sunlight is important because that helps to keep our anti-inflammatory system in check. So we need enough vitamin D. But then when you look at what you eat on a regular basis, if you are in pain and chronically in pain, what are you eating that may not suit you? So for a lot of people, say too much wheat can be the factor, and you would see that they can be intolerant to wheat, and when you remove the wheat, that their inflammation levels can come down and they get less pain. They even talk now about something called stiff body syndrome.
Never heard of that.
I know. And
it's
if you look up on, you Google it and you see it on papers, you'll see stiff body syndrome. And yet when people remove the wheat and they are intolerant, not if they're not intolerant, but if they don't tolerate wheat well and they know they get bloated or they're burping or they get constipation or diarrhea from wheat and they remove it, a lot of their pain can just dramatically reduce. But what can you eat? That's really when you look down here. I was just down with Michael at the Yellow Door, and he makes this beautiful chicken curry, and so many people come in and have their chicken curry. And curry, you'll see that orange curry, and you'll see the turmeric, and you'll hear me talking about turmeric, and you see this orange spice. If I get this in my fingers, it's going to give me orange fingers, and if I drink it in a soup, I could even be orange here. But it's very strong in what's called curcuminoids, and that curcumin is anti-inflammatory. So when we see countries like India, and they cook with these foods all the time, and they can reduce pain levels all the time, if we could start introducing these into our foods, and it's great to get a chicken curry, but do we want a curry every day? But I often tell people to make a soup so that they can take a teaspoon of the turmeric powder. Like, this is a ginger, and that is also anti-inflammatory.
That looks like a tiny teddy bear.
And yet, this is ginger.
Shape of it.
This is ginger. And if I open, if I break off a piece, you'll see that on the inside of it, it's a yellow. So you can peel it. Actually, it peels really well with a teaspoon, would you believe? But this is ginger powder, which is really just dried ginger, blended up. And this is ginger powder. So when I see Michael below making his chicken curry, he is putting powdered ginger, powdered turmeric, and he's putting fresh ginger. I asked him to see what's he doing for ginger, and he's putting chili powder. So this is chili. You see this dark red, you'll see the orange of turmeric, but chili is anti-inflammatory. It's got capsaicin, and it's that ingredient is strongly anti-inflammatory. It's also a circulatory stimulant. So when you want to take these anti-inflammatory foods and you want to carry them through your body, when you take it with chili powder, you're actually getting it into the joints, and it has this anti-inflammatory effect. You're going into where you've got ligaments and cartilage, and you're helping to repair as well as reduce the inflammation. So if you could make a soup every day, because you can't go down to Michael at the Yellow Door every day for the chicken curry, but if you started, you can go some days, but if you were to make a soup, and I put 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder into a mug, like my mother making hot cup years ago, and then I put in some either chili powder or some fresh chili or a squeezy little tube of chili. And I put in either fresh ginger or ginger powder. Now you can feel that it's getting hot and it's warming and it's sending heat to the body. And I put that with some bouillon. Now, if you use turmeric and you put black pepper with the turmeric, so all you have to do is put in some black pepper, some boiling water and some oil. You are making a turmeric soup.
What does it taste like, though? Is there a very kind of strong curry type flavour?
Like a curry.
A lot of people can't stomach curry flavours.
But if I said you had a therapeutic effect of turmeric, now, if you can't stomach this, you go to the health shop, you buy the capsules of turmeric. And you swallow.
Is it as good?
It is, because it is still the same turmeric powder. You'll see them, they're orange, and they may even have black pepper or piperine in there it helps the absorption of turmeric. What you're trying to do is reduce down the inflammation in the body. So chili, turmeric, ginger, and then this is garlic. Garlic is fantastic as an anti-infective, but it's really good for your joints as well. And remember I came in with the pineapple last time? Mm-hmm. And then chopped up pineapple. The pineapple core has a lot of this bromelain, this anti-inflammatory bromelain. So I will often even take the pineapple and then take the core, soak it in water, and you absorb those enzymes out into the water. So when you take water soaked that has absorbed what's in the pineapple core, you are getting bromelain, which is anti-inflammatory as well as a strong digestive enzyme. So they're foods that you can start just making. If you were going to have a hot cup, why not have a jar of turmeric mixed in with some chili, black pepper already? It's in a jam jar. You take out a spoon or a spoon and a half. You put in some bouillon. I put some Swiss bouillon, any broth that you have to make it more flavoury if you want it. I put a little bit of Himalayan rock salt and I make a soup. Now, if you knew that you were in pain and you had inflammation and you were sore, if you don't have pain, nobody's treating no pain. But if you can keep yourself pain-free and get yourself pain-free and keep yourself pain-free by adding something like turmeric, it's fantastic. Now, I will also often use, say, frankincense is an essential oil, but you can actually use, it's boswellia. So you can buy anti-inflammatory formulas that have turmeric and boswellia as a formula, and they are anti-inflammatory. Or you can use oils that are wintergreen and you can rub them directly onto your joints. Wintergreen is something that we've all known about. It's kind of got that strong camphor smell. So you can use essential oils that you can put onto the joints that are sore. What about taking fish oil? So fish oil is known to be anti-inflammatory. So, you know,
like cod liver oil.
Cod liver oil. And the difference with cod liver oil versus fish oil is cod liver oil has vitamin A and vitamin D. Vitamin D helps your immunity. Vitamin A helps repair the gut lining. So if I said that you've triggered inflammation, central inflammation, you know, I understand if you've injured your shoulder, we need to work with your shoulder. Yes, we can bring down inflammation with foods, but this generalized chronic inflammation that people just have pain, there's people who get up in pain every day.
And does this apply to people, we'll say, who maybe, for argument's sake, had a car accident and they've a bad back ever since? That
yes,
kind of inflammation. Can it help with that too?
It can help with that. So it can help with that type of pain and inflammation that they have held from an accident. Now, I do muscle work as well. I'm actually going to run a course coming up soon on body work. I really want to show people how to fix themselves. Because if you had techniques that you could actually get rid of your own shoulder pain, it would be so much better. So, because food is one side of it, and actually fixing a spasming muscle is another side. You know.
You mentioned there, Anne, a few minutes ago about when we were talking about curries, and you were saying people in India and that they eat those spices, the turmerics and things like that all the time. I'm just interested to know, do they have less of a problem with chronic pain in those countries, or maybe you don't know?
You know, I think that in those countries, because they had heat without all the sanitation and all the fridges, we have fridges. If we leave milk out for half an hour, we nearly want to throw it out. We are so used to putting our stuff in fridges. They don't have the access to that, a lot of them. So I think they've used a lot of these spices to counteract any food poisoning. So they are putting in these strong anti-inflammatory herbs to keep the gut in an anti-inflammatory way. I do know that people in those countries who are eating a high carbohydrate diet have less tolerance. Our blood pressure will go up later. So if we are eating a high carbohydrate diet and we get, say, high blood pressure, we get heart problems, they get those heart problems a lot quicker than we do. We will tend to grow and get bigger because of when we are eating a high starchy, high carbohydrate diet, we tend to be able to put on weight without it damaging our heart. In those countries, they tend to get blood pressure quicker.
Okay.
They tend to, even like Singapore, where they've done studies, they will suffer the ill effects of a high carbohydrate diet faster than we will. But we can be suffering with inflammation and not knowing what to do, medicating it, not knowing what to do with it. So I think that the low sugar diet, the lower carb diet is better for all of us.
It's interesting actually because, as you know, we have a weekly medical slot and with Dr. Eamon Shanahan, and the amount of people who get in touch and they have arthritic pain, their joints are swollen or inflamed, women who are going through the menopause and have really bad joint pain. And the questions are always along the lines of what can I take or what tablet is good for XYZ. But you were saying, don't mind the cure, come back to what you're eating and start from inside, really.
I don't want anybody to be in pain. So anybody who is on a medication, you stay on that medication and you start incorporating other anti-inflammatory techniques that you can use at home. So if you started cooking in a different way and eating differently, and if your pain level reduced, then you don't need the medications to the same degree. I'm a nurse. I've given all those medications. And I'm so well aware of what medications do. I know their side effects, and I know the people that come to me who are suffering the side effects and who would rather take the pain than the side effect. So that's what happens too. So when you look at somebody who's taken on responsibility for themselves and saying, well, what can I do that's different, that I can reduce the pain? Nobody wants to suffer pain. Pain can drive your blood pressure up. Pain causes a massive stress to your body. We talk about emotional stress. Pain is one of the biggest stressors that we have because you can't get away from it. You can't even get a good night's sleep because you turn in the bed and it wakes you up with pain. So, and pain is, and you're short-tempered and you're short-fused because of your pain. So, if you meet somebody and they're grumpy, you have to ask, are they in pain but they're not even mentioning it? I know people who have stopped even mentioning their pain. How are you? I'm fine. No. And what's your pain level? It's 8 out of 10. They've given up telling you how much pain they have because they've just realised they have to get on with it. And there's a lot of people like that, whereas I'm sitting here with no pain, and I'm assuming you're sitting here with no pain right now. You've got no pain, see? But then there's all these other people who suffer terribly from pain. So if you could take a cod liver oil, if you could take turmeric in your food, if you could add in extra oily fish, because the fish oils came out of that oily fish. If you could take polyphenols, are an ingredient that's in the blueberries. And the colours, those dark purple, red berries are full of polyphenols. They are anti-inflammatory. So could you eat more berries?
Even the ones that come in muesli, the dried ones?
Yeah, they still have some polyphenols. I mean, if you could get fresh or you get frozen. Frozen are snap frozen, so they still will have the polyphenols in them. So if you had frozen berries, because you won't always... Blueberries, raspberries... blackberries when they come out, black currants, these all have had high polyphenols, and
they're great for the anti-inflammatory.
They're great as an anti-inflammatory. The pineapple because of the bromelain, but if you're not digesting your food properly and you have bloating or burping or wind and you're sending undigested food through the gut, you're triggering an inflammatory reaction that in some people will present in joints, in another person it'll present as a gut inflammation. So we have inflammation. Then what can you eat to reduce the inflammation? That's what I'm saying. So start putting in the turmeric and ginger, start making that soup, but fish oil, vitamin D, I'll use essential oils as well because I find them really beneficial if you want something to rub on a painful joint. And then I also look at body work because if somebody has muscle pain, why is that muscle spasming? A spasming muscle will pull tight on a joint. Low magnesium. Magnesium is a mineral. It helps the muscles to relax. When you have cramp, restless legs, if you have a twitchy eye muscle, these are signs that your magnesium levels are low. Now, your blood magnesium can be fine and your tissue magnesium low. So when you have restless legs, muscle cramp, or that twitchy eye muscle, if you take magnesium in a supplement or you take green leafy vegetables, seeds, egg yolk full of magnesium. So, if you're taking magnesium-rich foods, then your muscles will relax. You're not pulling on that joint.
A listener wants to know, can somebody who's on a blood thinner take the soup you're talking about? And they say they're on Xarelto, Xarelto.
Yeah.
Any idea what that is?
If they're on Xarelto, so warfarin is what people are very common anticoagulant.
Yeah.
And a lot of other people then are put on aspirin. If you're on aspirin, you're fine. Aspirin is just thinning the blood slightly. And Xarelto is like that. When you're on warfarin, they're doing your bloods, and you can be on your diet and then they regulate your bloods, and then you can see. With Xarelto you can't. But with foods, so it's not a medicine that you're taking. You just have to be careful, and you have to be, I would say, err on the side of caution. I know that if your anticoagulant is working too much, you've got bruising, you might have bleeding gums, or you might have bruising on your skin. For the most part, if you are making a soup and you are just using these as spices, they are not contraindicated along with your Xarelto. But everybody has to use their own common sense in how much turmeric you're not going to take 3 mugs of it a day. You couldn't take a half a teaspoon and watch yourself to see. Because I believe that we can eat foods in the presence of medications and continue to control this blood clotting. You don't want to clot, and you don't want to bleed. Turmeric itself has the ability to help blood to flow better, as does fish oil, as does magnesium. But we don't stop you eating all the foods with magnesium and all the fish. We still have to eat in the presence of what medications we're on.
Eddie in Listowel is wondering about what he could take for lower back pain and hip pain. He doesn't seem to know if it's muscle or disc. He's very sore when he moves. So I suppose everything you said earlier could apply to him, couldn't it?
Everything I said earlier can apply. You can get essential oils that you can rub into the local area. I would be inclined to up your magnesium level, to even in a supplement, to loosen up muscles, because sometimes when you have a low back, even if it is a disc, it's the pulling of tight muscles that makes you much sorer. When you stand up from a chair and you have to peel yourself into standing, there are muscles in the low back holding on the leg bones that actually tightens up the psoas muscle. I do corrections on those again, and I try and put somebody on magnesium and loosen up the tight muscles as well. So, and there's people who go to chiropractors and osteopaths and they try and free up these type of muscles. But having anti-inflammatory foods will certainly help. I'll just mention as well, hot and cold. So can you picture putting your feet into a basin of cold water, maybe even with ice, and then you move it into a hot bath, so that you're into a hot basin of water. So you're moving your feet between two. You're pulling circulation into your feet. And when you put your body into cold, a lot of people are doing the Wim Hof and they're doing, the sea swimming and they're coming out and into saunas, going to cold to hot. But if he's at home with back pain and he gets out 2 basins and he puts hot water in one and cold water with ice cubes in the other, and he moves his feet from one to the other, it stimulates the anti-inflammatory chemicals in your body that will start pushing anti-inflammatory through your body.
And would he need to go back and forth a few times?
Yeah, I would. The water's going to cool down and the other water's going to warm up. So even if you spend 5 minutes going from cold to hot, it brings circulation into the feet. And by the time you're finished, you feel like your feet are almost on fire, even though they've been in hot and cold.
Now, another listener says, will you ask Anne, is it effective for inflammation to mix turmeric with pepper in warm water and just drink it down?
Absolutely. Now, if you're having that with a meal that has fat, you need oil to transport that across from the gut into the blood. So what they say is have it with an oil. So if you're putting the turmeric and pepper and you're having it at the same time, my aunt used to do it all the time with turmeric and pepper in orange juice. But if she was having that with her breakfast and she had an egg with her breakfast, the oil of the egg is enough. So if you're having it,
her out, yeah.
So any fatty food is going to help to absorb it. Any oil is going to help to absorb it. So if you're having that, have it at the same time as a meal with some oil in the meal.
Now, listener, just a bit off the point, but this listener is very badly suffering from constipation, hasn't gone since Sunday, has tried prune juice and different fruits all week, now getting very stressed about it, which of course isn't helping, wondering could you suggest any solutions?
I often ask how much wheat and dairy are you having? Because wheat and dairy can turn into morphine. We've mentioned this before. And having a lot of bread and cheese and milk and, different cereals can trigger that. So I would say withdraw those type of foods at the moment. So eating a lot more fruit and veg. I like prune juice because it helps to stimulate, and in her case it's not. You can go to the health shop and there are things like different formulas, like not just prunes but figs are another one that, like when we were kids, syrup of figs was in our house, and figs have a laxative effect. I often say if you soaked linseeds, which are flax seeds, in water, they swell out in the glass. So if you had a glass and you come up to half with water and you put in, say, a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of flax seeds and then let it soak overnight, tomorrow morning you add in the same amount again of prune juice, maybe another 100 mils of prune juice, mix it up and drink that. You're adding bulk to the gut at the same time that the prune juice is stimulating the bowel to go. Some people have a lazy bowel. I often look at the lazy bowel. If you have morphine being made from the food and you've never made the link, if you're tired after eating wheat and dairy, the chances are it has turned into morphine. So you have to look at what food you're eating that can cause it. Are you having enough fibre? Have enough water? Are you walking enough? Are you somebody who doesn't get the exercise? Because you need to massage that bowel with exercise. Now, some people will put on, so some of the essential oils, there's peppermint, and there's a couple of different oils that you can rub onto your belly and just rub them in, and they can actually help to relax the bowel as well.
What oils are they?
I mean, I use one with a lot of digestive oils in it. Peppermint would be one. Even lavender has a calming effect that will just calm everything, that you can rub it in. I use a particular one called Zengest, but it has a few different oils, tarragon, and a couple of different things that will actually help to relax the bowel.
I'm just going to fit 2 more in, Anne, and I'll ask you just to be as brief as you can with the answers because we're tight on time. Tom says that he has tried taking these anti-inflammation foods, but his problem is that they cause him to have a pain in his stomach.
Yeah. Can he take a fish oil to start with? Can he take a digestive enzyme that then, with bromelain, which is anti-inflammatory, that helps him to digest his food better and then improve the stomach lining? Can he take slippery elm powder or marshmallow powder to help coat the lining of the stomach, so that if he could help repair the stomach first, and even at that, by helping your digestion, you'll reduce your inflammation naturally. But if you go from there to being able to help your stomach to be able to handle these foods, would be a better option. A
listener wants to know, is there anything you could recommend for heartburn?
I prefer to see people take digestive enzymes that help you to digest your food so that you're not fermenting it, so you don't have fermented product rising back up that's giving you heartburn. Slippery elm powder or marshmallow powder, when you actually... and I think BioCare have a really good mix that has slippery elm and marshmallow and licorice. And it comes in a powder in the health shop. You mix it with some water and it's soothing. Can you imagine taking a powder mixed in water that's actually soothing and repairing the burning at the bottom of the esophagus before what's in your stomach shouldn't be coming back up. It shouldn't be fermenting to the point that it's rising back up. But people have so much wind and bloating that it's pushing up through a valve and it's burning the bottom end of the esophagus. So there is a formula from BioCare in the health shop that has a lot of those powders that you can mix in water that is soothing and repairing that lining.
Just a nice comment in from Martina, to finish up with, and she totally agrees with everything you've been saying. She had a broken shoulder recently and she found that taking the turmeric, ginger and the bromelain tablet helped her to recover a lot quicker. And she says, what a wealth of information, and has a very interesting segment. So
thank you.
There you go. Now, Martina is proof that it does work, what you're talking about. And thank you for that. Today you're in the All Therapy Health Centre in Rock Street, Tralee.
I am. I'll just give you a number. It's 087 775 9385. Or the All Therapy Centre is 066 718 5229.
If people want to call you up and make an appointment. And just to remind listeners that we will podcast this item from today's nutrition advice segment, and we'll also have a video of it so you can have a look at some of the products that Anne was talking about. That'll be up on our Facebook page later on tonight. We're going to take a break. Thanks a million to Anne Darcy again for another interesting slot. After the break, we'll be talking about where you can bag a bargain for yourself if you're in the Tralee area.